Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Football 101. Flagship episode went pretty well. Got some pretty good feedback from it from a lot of people that would have been brutally honest if it was terrible. So I'll take it. Had a lot of fun with it. We're just going to roll right into episode 2. We're going to be talking about receivers this week. Last week with quarterbacks, we just kind of worked backwards up ADP. We're going to kind of do the same thing with receivers, but we're going to go a little further back. We're going to go 15 through number 1. And we'll try to keep it a little bit shorter because there's more players to cover, and we got something else we're going to do at the end. But that's it. Let's just roll and see how it goes. So I guess before we get going, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Curtis, for joining me again. You guys got anything to add before we kick it off?
No, man, ready to get into these wide receivers.
I bet you are. You're going to learn a lot more about these than I am. I'm a quarterback and running back guy.
I'm ready to give terrible opinions. That's all I'm here for.
Wow.
I love your terrible opinions, sir. I live for your terrible opinions. Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with number 15. I'll take the first 2, and then at any point, if you guys want to add anything or cut me off, just do it. This isn't a formal thing. Obviously, we're just talking football. So coming in at number 15 and ADP number 30 is Nico Collins. And I wanted to talk about Nico Collins because I am a Nicolite. All right. I am all in on this dude. He was obviously part of the CJ Stroud-led monster last year, but he was the number 1 target. I mean, I had him on 2 teams, and he's somebody that I didn't really even appreciate until I started seeing it week in and week out. Dude averaged like 17 points a game. I mean, it was just insane. If you drafted him, you probably drafted him as a wide receiver 3 or a flex, but he went undrafted in a lot of leagues. One league, I actually got him off the waiver wire, and he won me that league, like almost single-handedly. I just had injury after injury after injury, and I pulled somebody off the waiver wire that was a wide receiver 1. You know?
Nothing like getting the 13th ranked wide receiver off the waiver wire.
Nope, feels good. Feels real good. Now, you're paying a price for him this year. He's going in 3rd round. He's not going undrafted anywhere. And if he was, I wish that I was in that league because that would be pretty easy. But
give me your money.
The Texans haven't changed at all for the worse. They added Stephon Diggs. They added Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud is a pocket passer. Everybody has heard and crushed me about my CJ Stroud take last week, but as far as Nico Collins and the receiving core goes, pocket passers are better. There's been 2 teams in the last 21 years that have had 3 1,000-yard receivers in a single season, and it hasn't been done since 2008. It was Peyton Manning in 2004 and the Cardinals in 2008, which, going off memory, I'm assuming that was Carson Palmer. I could be wrong. I would have to check that. But regardless, it hadn't been done in a long time. I think if Stroud picks up where he left off and Stephon Diggs isn't completely washed like a lot of people think he is, this might be the first year that it's happened in a long time, and Nico Collins, in my opinion, is just going to be the Titan at the top. You know, you can rank them however you want to. I've literally heard it all 3 different ways. Nico's the one. They paid him like he's the one. Last year, they threw him the ball like he's the one. And after Tank Dell got hurt, you really saw the development between Stroud and Nico. And I don't know, man. He's the alpha. I think he is an absolute steal at the 30th overall. I don't really know. You got anything to add on that, or I don't really know what else to say. I just...
he did get paid this offseason, got himself a nice, chunky contract. So that kind of shows that the organization sees the same things we do. Like, I mean, they're locking this guy down. They're like, all right, we're not going to even flirt with him trying to go into free agency or, find another team. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's just the fact that he finished last season as the 12th. He finished as a 12th overall receiver. I mean, getting him in the 3rd round as a 15th off the board, I think it's a great value for Nico. I think he's a smash.
Okay. Yeah, I assumed we'd probably be in agreement there.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
had that conversation a lot. We've probably spent 6 hours talking about the Texans. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Love them. Love everything about them. Other than
uh
Stephon Diggs, but go ahead.
that's completely fair. All right, well, I'll just roll right into number 14, and that's going to be Mike Evans. He's literally ADP one pick ahead of Nico Collins, and honestly, a similar story to Nico Collins as far as last year. I mean, obviously, Mike Evans has been doing the damn thing for like a decade now, but last year you could have got. I did. He was one of my go-to just late round guys because even then I couldn't understand why he wasn't being drafted until like the middle of the ninth round. I understand Tom Brady left, and I understand people have their issues with Baker Mayfield, but it's Mike Evans, man. He's going to give you 1,000 yards. He's going to give you 9+ touchdowns, and the ninth round, like, dude, I had several hero running back drafts, and I don't even do that anymore. I'll hero wide receiver every now and then, but I had several just pretty much zero wide receiver drafts, and Mike Evans just carried me all the way. 16.2 yards per catch. Normally, I would look at that and say, oh my God, this dude is a stud. That's just Mike Evans, man. I mean, he is 32, and I have my issues with that offense, but I don't think the issues with the offense are going to be a whole lot different than they are next year, or than they were last year, you know? So I don't really know what else to say for Mike Evans, to be honest with you. This one just kind of seems like a no-brainer for me. It's not going to feel as sexy of a pick as it did last year, but I mean, if I'm looking at trying to get a wide receiver too at the end of the third round, there will be absolutely the only hesitation I would have over Mike Evans is going to be is Nico Collins still on the board or not. You know, I don't hate
Yeah.
his ADP at all.
Yeah. I think his ADP is, I mean, honestly fine, especially if you go, early running back, something like that, and you have Mike Evans there as your number one receiver, number two receiver. I mean, there's not many people with a better resume than Mike Evans. I mean, he's going into his 11th season. So, I mean, that's real. Like, I've got that note next to him. But, I mean, he's just like Mr. Inevitable. He's going to get you 1,000 yards, potentially double-digit touchdowns every year. So, I mean, yeah, I think he's a great click where he's at.
That I'm glad you said that. That is actually one thing I was going to mention. If there is a a regression note for Mike Evans, the dude had 13 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
There was
I
only
don't,
one other wide receiver in the league to do that, and he's so far up this list, it's going to be a while before we talk about him. So, 13 touchdowns at the 14th overall ranking, you can probably count towards some regression to the mean, but I think the mean for Mike Evans, I would have to go back and check, but it's got to be 9, if not 10, you
yeah.
know? So,
Yeah, my biggest concern for Mike Evans outside of his age is Dave Canales not being the offensive coordinator for Tampa anymore. Like, do we see a fall off in Baker Mayfield? Potentially, yeah. So, I mean, there are some red flags, but it's baked into his price a little bit, I think, getting him, a double-digit wide receiver. Double-digit touchdown wide receiver in the third round is pretty nice.
right. And some people care more about speculation. I'm kind of one of those guys, but some people literally only care about picking up where you left off last year. So if that's all you're worried about, he was the wide receiver 7,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
being drafted as the wide receiver 14.
hmm Yeah, he's a stud.
I'm going to
I tell
pass
you,
it off to you for these next two because these are two Curtis guys. Unless you got something, Matt. I know Mike Evans, your boy. You try to trade me for him like once a year. So
I don't know. I wouldn't consider my boy. I don't do a whole lot of trades, man. I live and die on the sword.
Hey,
you
man.
did one in March. We're going to talk about that.
Me and Chris talked off recording last week about you, Curtis, and you requesting to trade for me every single week. I'm like, bruh.
Dude, I take the shotgun approach. I cook up about 15 trades every Wednesday. I'm just like, send. Something will hit. But yeah,
Just
for sure.
be
Yeah.
spraying and praying.
Yeah, dude. Hey, man. They're all good trades in my head. They're all good.
But no, I think Mike Evans is going to be a pretty safe pick, and he has a pretty high floor to me.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't go wrong with 1,000 yards and 9-10 touchdowns. You kind of know what you're going to get. And
Yeah,
he also
absolutely.
has 2 years. He also has his second year with Baker Mayfield on the horizon, so I'm hoping that's going to bump those numbers up a little bit. But then we also have the issue of, like you said, the offensive coordinator being changed. So just kind of different variables, but I think he's a very, very safe pick.
I think you just gave the most solidified take, honestly, of all three of us. Well, you said one line. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
Like if
absolutely.
1,009 is your floor and that's what you're drafting for, you're not going to be disappointed. That's my point. Like I think it's worth the pick because he's not going to. I don't think he's going to let you down minus injury, which he doesn't really get. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah, man. He's the meat and potatoes on your plate for sure in your wide receiver room.
But just so we're clear, if he's available there, I am 100% not going to draft him. Okay, just so we're clear.
Oh yeah.
Noted. Noted.
All right. So yeah, moving on to number 13 here, Mr. Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. And it's been a saga on Brandon Ayuk this offseason. He's going to get traded. It looked pretty convincing just a few days ago. He was going to get traded likely to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but there's notes now. They're renegotiating things. I don't see him this late in the season getting traded. I mean, 49ers want to go in a Super Bowl, and I mean, losing Ayuk is a big deal in those
That would hurt.
regards. So, yeah, I think he stays put. I think he works it out. I think he goes out there and he balls out. Ayuk last year finished as the looks like I may have had my notes wrong. I thought it was no. So Nico Collins finished number 12 last year, not number 13. I had the numbers mixed up. So yeah, Brandon Ayuk finished last year as the 13th overall receiver, and man, just an efficiency monster. I mean, 105 targets, 75 receptions. That's the thing, 75 receptions. Off that, he had 1,342 yards. So a 1,350-yard season. That's phenomenal off those targets. 7 touchdowns. And Chris and I were talking this morning. He was averaging 18 yards per reception, I think. You broke it all down.
It's ungodly.
Yeah, average across the field. I mean, those are just sickening numbers. And I mean, he's in an inefficient offense. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed there with Debo, Kittle, McCaffrey, but I mean, McCaffrey's already dealing with the calf strain, so if they have to go the air out more, if you see
Shut your mouth.
no,
Shut your mouth talking about McCaffrey's calf.
Everyone. But I mean, like, look at his targets compared to, these other guys with, CeeDee Lamb, 181 targets, Tyreek Hill, 171 targets, Amon-Ra, 164 targets, Garrett Wilson, 168 targets. I mean, he had almost not even half those. So if he gets an extra 30 targets this season, I mean, you could have a 2,000-yard season. Probably not with that many mouths to feed, but you could definitely have more touchdowns. I mean, you give Ayuk another 300 yards and 2 to 3 more touchdowns. I mean, we're talking about him in the, easy 5 to 7 range next year. So I think he's attached to an incredible offense. They have the highest point total by Vegas for this season. I mean, and now if you're getting any kind of dip on Brandon Ayuk from like trade FUD, if it hasn't been cleared up by your drafts going and he dips some, I love him. I think he's awesome. And yeah, I mean, I think he'll finish way above his ADP. I mean, I think I will probably finish in top 10 if I had to, take a stab in the dark. And that's given him his floor. I think ceiling wise, he could be up here with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson next year. But, a lot of mouths to feed. Is he the one? Is he not the one? His teammate, somebody we might talk about later. But yeah, Ayuk's a smash there. I mean, I think he blows his ADP out of the water. I think he's great.
I disagree with nothing unless he gets traded. But you said that, so
yeah. If he gets traded, everything changes. Yeah.
If he gets traded, everything changes.
Yeah, because his suitors are not places you want your wide receiver one to go. at all,
Mm,
man. Like Pittsburgh is just. I'm a Pittsburgh fan, but man, that's a gross location for them. It hurts Pickens. Oh, I don't even want to think about it. It's bad. Bad news bears. So
I
I
honestly, I think if we do have to have that conversation, it's going to be about Pittsburgh. I don't
yeah.
see it
Oh
happening
yeah. Me
anywhere
too.
else.
Yeah, I think everyone else
But
is out. Like he turned down New England. It's so funny. He's like, I want X, Y, and Z. New England's like, we'll give it to you. He said, no, thank you.
he said, I
Absolutely not.
also want to win 5 games. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right.
that
So
is a bummer.
They
yeah,
were saying he wanted to go to the. They were going to try to trade him to the Browns.
I heard about that, like a player for player, like they send,
Cooper.
Ayuk and yeah, trade it for Cooper plus a first round next year or something like that. But mm, I don't know. Last I heard they were out of the running. Like I don't think they wanted to give up the draft capital with
Right.
Cooper to get Ayuk.
Do you
I would
imagine
do it if I
Deshaun
was
Watson?
Cleveland, but I could understand them not wanting to. I mean, Cooper's still a smash, but he's what, 6 years older or 5 years
Yeah,
older. But
yeah, he's
Cooper plus a first, that seems rich. Because then you
yeah,
got to pay him.
yeah, exactly. Then you got to pay him. Like
Right.
it's stout. Honestly, as much as I don't want to see him go to Pittsburgh, it makes the most sense. Like Pittsburgh need like Pickens is, I think he's more than just a deep ball threat, but Ayuk fits in really well there. I mean, it's a true elite number one. Tomlin's a great coach. They look alike. I mean, but
Yeah,
that's just memes.
you're right.
Mhm. But yeah, do y'all have anything else on Mr. Ayuk?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, then moving up to Mr. Olave at the number 12 spot. And this is I was high on Olave last year. I was really looking at that
Oh.
second year break. Oh, what the
No, no, no. You just the pause. I was like, "Where's this going?"
I am so high.
When I
No,
drafted him last year, so high. I couldn't believe I did it.
tailgating got too out of hand. No. I was, as in, like, my take on Olave was high. I really thought he was going to have a second year breakout. I wouldn't say I was excited about Derek Carr, but, I was like, he can provide Olave with a breakout season. And he had better numbers than he did his rookie season. He had more yardage, an additional touchdown, more receptions, but still finished 16th in comparison to 15th his rookie year. So he really kind of hovered around the same area, but the team was abysmal. It was like him and Derek Carr were arguing constantly. But he's still just, I mean, a incredible route runner, and he's a really great deep threat. The only other competition is really Rashid Shaheed, who's like going to get 3 targets a game, And they brought in a new offensive coordinator. If Davis Allen can get out of the way and let the coordinator do his job,
My boy
I'm
Davis.
I'm a huge fan of Olave the player, but the Saints situation gives me the icks. They're all dome games, which is nice, but I just don't see a ceiling for Olave. I'm high on him. I like him. I think he's where he goes in the second round is a fine place for him. But he's just not my favorite second round click this year. I'm happy doing it if he's there, and players like, to be honest though, like I'd rather have Nico over Olave if I'm telling you the truth. I know
Yep.
Chris and I are in lockstep on that, and but I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying. I think Olave is a great wide receiver. I think he's your wide receiver one, awesome, you're good. He's going to give you a nice floor with some spike weeks. And if he's your wide receiver two, I think it's a smash. Like it's a safe, good, comfy wide receiver. And you have the upside of like potentially Spencer Rattler coming in. Chris has been paying attention to him. He blew up the preseason. Derek Carr is a reason I don't love taking Olave over some of these other guys. But if we get some excitement with Spencer Rattler, I mean, he could have some untapped upside with the offensive coordinator coming in. And if we had like a third year breakout from Olave, and he finishes in the top 10, I could see it, but I'm not really betting on it this year.
Yeah. Uh, just to elaborate, that was the nicest possible way that you could have said everything that I would say about Olave.
Yeah, I know
Like,
you're not on them, dude.
dude,
Yeah.
listen, man, just the eye test. All right, last year we went to 4 Saints games, and minus the time that I got to spend with my wonderful and amazingly hot wife,
Mm-hmm.
it was awful to watch. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
it was terrible. And
Yeah.
you're right. When you watch Olave break the line of scrimmage and just shake a DB that's playing way too close on him, and he's 10 yards down the field with his hand up, and then Derek Carr just launches it into the second tier of the stadium like 6 times in 3 drives. Like at some point, dude, like Olave can only do so much. I'm with you. I'm a fan of the player. I'm a fan of the talent. But now Pete Carmichael's gone. They got a new offensive coordinator, but Dennis Allen is still driving that ship. So it's not that I'm telling everybody Olave is going to suck because he's got the talent, he's got the potential. But until I see that whole offense moving north, I'm out. I don't want him in the second round. I'm going to have to think about him in the third round.
Oh
But
man, that
I
bridge
understand
too far
that's
there.
biased because I saw it. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying just because I saw it, I'm right. I might have just seen it and it sunk in and it hurt more than it should have. But yeah, dude, I don't want that. I don't want that smoke.
I will echo Chris's sentiments there.
All right. Well, all right.
that
So
down.
I'm going to come to bat for one last thing on Olave. Last year, Olave had only 5 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty low for your wide receiver one. If
I
this
think it's
offense
because the
takes,
Saints only scored 7.
dude, you might be right about that. But I see positive regression in the touchdown department. I mean, and he, like I said, he improved on his catches, reception. Well, same thing. He improved on his yardage and receptions. If he gets 3 more touchdowns, I mean, I think you'll be happy with Olave. And I see Olave having more than 5 touchdowns this season. So there's positive regression there. And I think that's part of why his ADP is higher. People are projecting a positive regression in the touchdown department for him. So, yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, but I'm not that down on Olave. I think he's a incredible receiver. He comes from Ohio. That's where, I mean, they've just been producing nothing but elite receivers for the past 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. But anyway, yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, but Olave, if you like Olave, I think you should take him. I think he's a good pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pass.
Huh? Teach their own.
Listen, I'm gonna pass too, at least for 1 year. But if again, I know the dude's good. I know he's talented. So again, if the Saints get it right, he'll get it right.
Absolutely.
So Chris,
Tell you one thing I did pass
test.
on was those season tickets this year. Old dude brought it up again, and I was like, you know what? I'm good, brother.
Find a better way to spend my time than watching the worst offense in the league.
I'm gonna drink on my couch. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Chris, you have the eye test with him, and I have the guy that drafted him last year. And yeah. Look, I hold grudges. I got fucked one too many times. I'm out.
He said, "I'm done. Never again, Chris Olave. Never again.
I will die on another hill. It will not be the Olave hill."
Yeah. Well, I also drafted Olave, and I hear you saying like no week was ever like, oh man, I'm so glad I have Olave. But I mean, he was giving you 12 to 17 points a game, which isn't like, I mean, that's not top 15 material. You can get that later in drafts, but I'll draft him again this year for sure.
I might, but it won't be in the second. That's my point. Is like I think the end of the second's way too rich, which is actually a good. I accidentally stumbled into that one. This is a good time to tell you guys, starting with Chris Olave until we get to the end of this list, every single receiver on it is going to be first or second round. So
yeah.
That's just to let you know how weighted it is now. And that's probably not coming as a shock to anybody who plays every year. We've kind of seen the evolution moving from running backs to wide receivers with PPR formats and all that. Obviously, it makes sense. I'm just saying, like, anybody else that we're going to talk about, if you want them, you got to get them. So
yeah, if you think you're going to get away with a robust running back strategy this year, I think you're going to have a hard surprise picking out wide receivers in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round. Not a lot of value.
The dead zone does seem dead. It seems like there's
Yeah.
more value late in drafts than there is in the dead zone. But all right, well that'll move us into number 11. I'll take this one. It'll be short because there's not a lot to say. That's going to be Mr. Drake London. He is at ADP number 18. Drake London is an amazing athlete. Kyle Pitts is an amazing athlete. Bijan Robinson might be the most athletic human being in the NFL. We just don't know how good they can be because they've never been put in a spot to show us yet. Now, we're not talking about Kyle Pitts or Bijan anymore. My point there was the Falcons are a brand new regime. Arthur Smith is gone. There's a new coaching staff. Apparently, they want to airmail the ball out a lot more, which you can't pass it any less. So, I mean, that's one thing that Drake London's got going for him. What I will say for Drake London is he was wildly inefficient, even when he did get looks his way. That's quarterback play. He's got Kirk Cousins now. We hope Kirk Cousins is better. Or, we obviously we know Kirk Cousins is better, but we hope Kirk Cousins is healthy. If this ball really flies around the way they're saying it's going to, then go Drake London. I mean, the dude's been on top 10 in SportsCenter for probably 6 of the 13 catches he had last year. So, I mean, he's got freakish hands. He can beat people off the line. He's fun to watch until you watch about 9 routes that he broke wide open and didn't get the ball thrown to him, and then you're just over it. It's not unsimilar to Chris Olave, honestly. But the efficiency should go up. The touchdowns have to go up. He only had 2 touchdowns last year. That being said, I'm good in the middle of the second.
Yeah.
Again, that's just going to be one of those situations where if I get proven wrong, I get proven wrong. But I just think there's too much value right around his name to roll the dice on somebody that we haven't seen a system put in place to benefit him yet.
So I will say
man.
a couple of things for and against this. Okay, I'm not gonna die on any hill for us. I'm a Falcons fan, so I'm not gonna tell you to draft him. Okay. Look, the QB play can't be worse than what it was last year.
It can't.
Legitimately cannot be worse.
No, it can't.
So we can only go up from here. But like you said, what is the health status of Kirk Cousins, and then Michael Penix Jr.? Is he going to come in at some point? Is he as good as they say he was during the draft process? Probably not. Me being the pessimistic Falcons fan that I am. So again, it can't be worse than what it was last year, but I feel like with London, it would be if you drafted him, it would be a high risk, high reward kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to judge anybody for taking him there. I'm just, as much as I talked about risk versus reward with quarterbacks last week, there's just so many receivers that I think I'm a little less risky when it comes to picking riskier prospects at higher ADPs. But London's a freak, dude. He is that good. It's just kind of like Olave. To me, it's about the offense.
Yeah.
So also to that point, drafted London in a league or two. Dude fucked me several times. Probably not drafting him.
Oh yeah. Well, what you probably felt there was the wide receiver 37. That's probably what you were feeling from Drake London, because that was his finish last year was wide receiver 37. So not so very good. Yeah, every piece of that. But so why is a wide receiver that finished number 37 being drafted at the 1-2 turn ahead of people like IU, Collins, Evans? He's getting drafted ahead of a lot of people that are ranked ahead of him. Not a lot of people, but he is getting drafted ahead of several people on this list. And this is coming from a person who loves Drake London. As far as vibes go, I'm all vibed out on Drake London. I think he's awesome. I love watching him. I love Kirk Cousins. I love Zach Robinson, the new OC from the Rams. So he's got the Shanahan perfume. I mean, this guy is, I mean, the
Smells
offense, like,
good.
yeah, probably. I mean, the offense is just, I mean, locked in and just ready to explode. I mean, like Chris said, Kyle Pitts, Bijan, Drake London, new offensive coordinator who's a stud. I just, but when you look at the numbers, though, man, I mean, it is tough to get on board with that draft price at just 69 receptions, 905 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, but you have to put a lot of that just on Arthur Smith, on the QB play. I mean, but when I was so into Drake London, I guess I was like, thought I was going to be one of few people putting the math together about the step forward of the offense and like maybe get him in that, comfy 4th round discount area. But no, I mean, and I bought in on the 1-2 turn price as well, but I've cooled on it some after like digging further into his numbers a little bit. But I still like, if you're playing to win fantasy football, which there's only one winner in each league, we're not playing for safety. I mean, you're getting I mean, if everything, I mean, Drake London could be, I mean, a top 5 receiver this year. I mean, it could be Drake London and Garrett Wilson taking, Jamar Chase's and CeeDee Lamb's, not CeeDee Lamb, but Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson's spot next year in the top 5. But we'll have to see. It's all speculation. There's no facts like other than like the improvements they made in the offseason to give you like comfort in drafting Drake London. There's no comfort in Drake London drafting him. It's all scary, but boy, the reward, if like all this projection hits, it's going to be massive. So I see a massive season for Drake London, but I get the fear of taking him there at the 1-2 turn.
You mentioned when you dug further into it, it kind of brought you down for him a little bit. Dude, when I dug further into him, I was like, good on you, Drake London. And I think the reason for that is it felt so bad to watch that when I saw that he wound up with like 70 catches and 900 yards, I was like, wouldn't have guessed that shit. I would have thought that would have been somewhere around 50 and 5, honestly, because it felt so undesirable.
Yeah, I mean,
but I do see the path.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Before we get into number 10, we're gonna play Guess That Wide Receiver.
Okay.
This is for both of you guys.
Okay.
Of these 5 guys that we just talked about, which was the most efficient last year on a points per game basis? Regardless of how many they played, obviously, just taking a guess at their points per game. So we got Nico, Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, Olave, and Drake London. I will give you a hint. It was not Drake London.
Well, wait, who was the what?
Who was the most efficient on a points per game basis?
And it wasn't Amon-Ra St. Brown?
No. Of the 5 we just talked about.
Oh, of the 5 we just talked about. Oh, well, that's going to be Ayuk.
I was going to go Ayuk as well.
Nico Collins.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yes.
Very
Nico
striking.
Collins finished with 261.4 fantasy points in PPR in 15 games. Had he played in 17 games, and everybody else on here played in at least 16, in this, pocket of 5, he beat out Ayuk, Olave, and Drake London with 1 less game. But had he played for 17 games and just averaged out the same amount of points per game, he would have finished as the wide receiver 4 last year. He would have finished above A.J. Brown. He would have finished above Puka Nacua. Now, minimally, it would have been by like 3 points above Puka, and 7 above A.J. Brown. But I obviously loaded this trivia question on purpose because I wanted the world to know that if you can get Nico Collins at the end of the 3rd round and he does what he did last year, he could win you your league. He's a sleeper pick in the 3rd round, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a drastic price difference from what I'm seeing in underdog. Nico's going at the 1-2 turn, sometimes an underdog. Like if you get him in the mid-second, you're happy. So it seems like the regular market is not up to speed on Nico. So yeah, as long as he's there in the third round, I agree, man. He's just an
Trick your
easy
league
target.
mates.
Yeah, yeah.
Trick them.
Yeah. Hype up Steph Diggs.
Yes. All right. Well, let's just move along into number 10, Curtis.
Oh man, Devontae Adams, who, funny enough, is I think one of the only receivers that is ranked where he finished. I think he finished the wide receiver 10 last year, and he's ranked
Sure did.
here at the wide receiver 10, which is, man, Devontae Adams is tough, tough, tough. He
I knew
really
you'd love
is,
taking
and
this one.
golly, it's because I love Devontae Adams. I mean, he is still, I think, one of the behind Justin Jefferson. I think he's the second best wide receiver in the league, talent wise. I didn't see any real fall off from his skill last year, but the situation, if we think the Saints are ugly, buddy, the Raiders offensive situation scares me to death. I mean, Aiden O'Connell is just so vanilla. I mean, and I think if we started Gardner Minshew all year, like if they came out and were like, Gardner Minshew's our starter, he's the guy, I'd be a lot more comfortable with Devontae Adams because Gardner Minshew supplied Michael Pittman with wide receiver 13 production last year. And I think we can all say Devontae Adams is a far superior wide receiver to Michael Pittman. Even at his age right now, which I think he's at his age 28, 29 season, I don't think he's 30 yet. He might be 30. I don't know. I don't think he's 30 yet. But, I mean, he gave you 8 touchdowns last year on an abysmal offense, 1,100 yards, 103 receptions, 175 targets. The only wide receiver with more targets than Devontae Adams was CeeDee Lamb with 181 targets. That is a massive number. That is a reason to draft Devontae Adams outside of just being the second best talent wide receiver in the league. Is there's not many guys who can have 20-point target games, like, and he'll do it. He is the one. He's the offense. I'm a huge Brock Bowers fan. I'm excited for him, but nobody's taking anything away from Devontae Adams other than the Raiders offense. Like, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to hold Devontae Adams back. And I just got to note, I think he's 31 years old, 31. So he's old, man, but I didn't see a fall off from him last year.
No.
But he's kind of like how Chris feels about Olave, I kind of feel about Adams. Like, I do not like clicking him in the second round. But if he falls the top of the third, you've gone Christian McCaffrey, and then Devontae Adams falls there to you, you get to double click something like Adams and Mike Evans. Yes, please. I'll take two grown-ass men with my Christian
Give me that
McCaffrey.
old-ass team.
Yeah.
I'll run it.
RT right there. They are insured.
Yeah.
They're insured. But
geriatrics.
I like Devontae Adams, but in my redraft leagues, he's probably off my board in the second round. He falls to the third. That's the price I like him at. But the Raiders scare me. His age is real, and I think he's already kind of like one foot out the door. I think these guys go 0-5. You're going to be seeing him catching passes from Aaron Rodgers in the Jet Stadium. So, I think it's going to be a roller coaster with Devontae Adams this year, and I don't want to ride.
As a Garrett Wilson owner, he better stay his ass out of New York.
I bet.
Yeah. I don't think there's much I can add to that, if anything at all. I kind of like what you said about he's 31, and the offense isn't going to be that great, but 175 targets? Sure. I don't mind building a wide receiver room around that if I have to pick one in the late second. Now, if I find out it's Gardner Minshew, I'd feel a little better about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna start walking around wearing jorts everywhere and growing a handlebar mustache out of my fandom, but I think Gardner Minshew's a lot better for him than Aiden O'Connell will be.
Ooh, a lot better.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
I just think he's kind of where he needs to be. Like you said, he's being drafted as a wide receiver 10. We saw how that offense looked last year, and he finished as the wide receiver 10. And if he gets 170 targets and catches maybe just 12, 13 more balls and efficiency comes up a little bit, then I probably in the wide receiver 6-7 range again. So
yeah,
it is what
I think
it is. It's
think
just
that's
not
his.
it's not a sexy click. I get that.
No, I think 6'7" is like it's hard for me personally to say Devontae Adams' ceiling this year. But I think I don't think the Raiders' offense can support him being a top 5 wide receiver this year.
No,
And
I would say
you know,
probably not as well.
and there's players going around him that I think can take that jump. And like I'd almost rather take Malik Neighbors over Devontae Adams, to tell you the truth. But that's I know.
All right.
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. So
Yeah, you're not gonna hear me complaining about that, dude.
yeah, which
Go
I think is a
Tigers,
nice
baby.
segue into your pick, your guy right here, another outstanding rookie.
Yep. He is a rookie, and he's coming in at number 9. That's gonna be Marvin Harrison Jr. And this was tricky for me. There's no professional stats to go off of, and when you're talking about top 10 players, you generally want something to reference. But he's Marvin Harrison Jr., so he's obviously been around football and a wide receiver party for, however old he is. The dude was an absolute freak in college. He looks the part already. The Cardinals didn't even remotely consider trading that pick, knowing that they could trade it down 2 or 3 spots and still walk away with a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze. They wanted an outside guy. They wanted somebody that could break and fade. They wanted somebody that they could run through the slot to break outside. Harrison can do all that. He's calm, cool, he's collected, and he's going to be the target in Arizona. He's going to share targets with Trey McBride. But as far as running the perimeter, and I'm sorry, I keep seeing the preseason hype talking about it's finally time to see the real truth about Michael Wilson. He's not Marvin Harrison, dude. Like, Marvin Harrison is going to own that wide receiver room. You always have to worry about rookies and touchdowns. And Trey McBride is going to piece into that some too. But I think what's odd about Harrison's ADP is he is still a rookie. And I get it, the hype, and I believe it, dude. I'm there. We referenced a trade that Primo and I made in March, and it was before the NFL draft. I didn't know where Marvin Harrison was going to get drafted at, but I sacked my second best running back and my second round pick to secure the pick to take him because I was already that hard of a truther on him. I mean, but I'm sorry, not his preseason, like his season stat line is predicted to come in somewhere around 75 catches for 1,044 yards and 5 touchdowns. You will be very disappointed in that if that's what he actually gives you. Like, I'm going to use that to segue into the next guy in a second, but just to elaborate, I don't see a world where his stats are that low at the end of the season if he doesn't get hurt. I really don't. I think you're drafting him as the wide receiver 9, regardless of what the algorithm says. The whole world obviously thinks it too because his ADP is this high. And as far as what I would do, if you're in a dynasty or a keeper league, 101. I want him on my roster for 15 years. If I'm in a redraft league, I think the middle of the second's a little rich for a rookie wide receiver, if I'm being honest. And I'm there for him. Trust me, dude. I'm conducting that hype train, all right? But the middle of the second, I don't know that I want to roll my wide receiver 1 out or even make him my wide receiver 2 if I don't have a locked-in running back yet. So I see both sides. I do, but I think we're going to get the good side, man. Honestly, outside of injury to either him or Kyler Murray, I don't see how it fails. I really don't. I think that 75, 1050, and 5 will look something more like 95, 1280, and maybe 8. And, I could live with that.
Man, it's exciting to click Marvin Harrison Jr. in a draft. It's one of those things where it's like it's exciting to do it, but as soon as you can do it, it's like I just take a rookie for my wide receiver 1 in the second round and wide receiver 2. And man, it's I think we talked about it a little bit in our quarterback episode. It's just the market's not letting you get a discount on this just because he's a rookie anymore. It's like we've seen it with Jamar Chase, we've seen it with Justin Jefferson. It's like these guys are pro ready. There is no rookie buffer for them. Like these guys are ready to come in and demand number one elite targets. And yeah, I mean, I think Marvin Harrison is that guy. I mean, am I taking him at his price? No. If he dips a little into the late second, yeah, I'll take the flyer on him. I'll take that shot. But I think, and I'm not one to talk. I mean, it's one of those things. Again, we talk about safety. It's like there's really no room for safety in fantasy football if you're wanting to win. If you want to come in third, make the playoffs, sure. But I want to come in first or last. Like I really don't care. Like I want guys who can like just. And we have no idea what his ceiling is. Like I mean,
Right.
it's hard to see a rookie just going out there and finishing in the top 10 or something. But if anyone's ever going to do it, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. So, yeah, I think you just have to swallow that draft price and just accept it. And, if you want him on your team, take him right there at his price.
Yeah. So,
Can't disagree with that.
I'll go ahead, Matt.
No, I was gonna say I don't disagree with any of that.
No. I mean, and it's not like he's going into a bad situation. It'd be different if he was going, he doesn't have Daniel Jones throwing him the football. He's got Tyler Murray,
Right.
number one draft. I mean, wasn't Kyler Murray picked number one overall? I might be wrong about that, but he was,
I don't remember. Had to be
yeah,
up there.
he was up there though. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, the situation couldn't be better for him in this offense. So,
All right. Well, I mentioned on him that his preseason stat line is projected to be 75, 1050, and 5. And when you see that for a receiver, you think, wow, that's 1,000 yards. Sure, 75 catches, whatever. But then you look at the next guy on the list, whose name is Garrett Wilson, and last year, that's what he did. He caught 95 passes for 1042 and 3 touchdowns. And boys, let me tell you, it was not a fun ride to be on.
that disparity between targets and receptions is so tough to look at.
It's 168 targets with 95 receptions. Now, does that stop me from Garrett Wilson? No. Because if you get a healthy Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not one of these people that thinks Aaron Rodgers is never going to play football the same way again. I think he's fine. I don't think he's going to scramble for 82 yards a game like he could 10 years ago, but I don't think he needs to. I think his accuracy's still there. I think probably 90% of his arm strength's still going to be there. And Garrett Wilson is that dude. All right, I was kind of ripping Drake London a while ago saying that I've only seen spurts because we were only allowed to see spurts. It's kind of the same situation with Garrett Wilson, dude. 2 years in the league with Zach Wilson, and you're still putting up 1,000 yards on 90 catches. If you could do it with Zach Wilson, you can get the damn thing done with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Now, I should know this. I don't even know who the backup is for the Jets now. Do you know, Curtis, off the top of your head?
Yeah, they drafted a
Or Matt?
rookie. I don't know his name, but they drafted a rookie for the backup.
No.
I don't think it's anything you want to delve into, though. It's not a Michael
Well,
Penix.
My point is, it can't be as bad as Zach Wilson was. So,
No.
I think what we've seen for Garrett Wilson the last 2 years is as bad as it's going to get. And I'm still all in on him. He's going 25% of the way through the second round. Whatever, dude. If I'm picking 7 or 8 and he's around on the swing, there's no hesitation for me. Because I watched a lot more of him than I actually watched of Drake London, and I saw some of the catches. He had 3 touchdowns last year, and all 3 of them were on Sports Center because of the acrobatics that he had to do because of the shitty throw to actually make the catch and come down with the 6. If he's getting the ball placed in the breadbasket in stride or at the point that he breaks and it's right where it's supposed to be, if Aaron Rodgers can still hit those back shoulder throws, Wilson's got the footwork. This is going to be a bromance that I don't think anybody's ready for yet. I see a way for Garrett Wilson to finish as a top 5 receiver this year if Rodgers is healthy and does what he can do. I can't say that I see that for Drake London, even with Kirk Cousins being that healthy. I think that's the difference for me. I think that's why we had the disparity between the two in ADP, and I support it 100%.
No, I mean, I echo everything you just said. And you have a whole season, even though we didn't get to see it last year. There's a whole additional season of rapport between
Sure.
Rodgers and Garrett Wilson compared to Drake London and Kirk Cousins. I mean, they had all last offseason and this entire offseason. So, yeah, I mean, who's his competition? Mike Williams coming off an ACL tear, Alan Lazard, Tyler Conklin, rookie Malachi Corley, who's just like a dink and dunk specialist. Like, it's going to be Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson. I mean, you're going to hear that a ton. And I mean, yeah, I mean, the only person I think taking work away from Garrett Wilson is Brees Hall, which is fine. Whatever. You want your offense to function. You don't want them, to only, you know, you don't want 168 targets and 95 receptions. I'd rather see that.
That's what. Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that target number, even if it goes down, but his receptions go up 30. Like, that's just a huge win. So yeah, I think Garrett Wilson. I mean, because the end of the round one is an ugly spot. If you don't have things fall to your right, I mean, you're looking at not the most fun picks compared to people at the top of the draft board. So I think Garrett Wilson is kind of a diamond in the rough down there. I think he stands apart from some of these other guys you're drafting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I've waited
I'm
a whole
excited for
year with him on my
yeah.
keeper team, so I'm ready.
Everybody's ready to watch Aaron Rodgers' old crazy ass get out there and sling the ball. I am. I'm ready to watch Garrett Wilson blow up. I don't enjoy Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson seasons. It's tough. It's like watching just this elite wide receiver just held down by ball and chain throughout the game. It's tough to watch.
Well,
But
and I'll say this about that, and then I'm gonna let you move into Puka. But I think why it's so tough to watch is because it's just sad. Like last year when Aiden O'Connell was getting Devontae Adams murdered over the middle, you saw Devontae Adams ripping his helmet off, throwing his dreads back, looking like the damn predator, running over to the sideline, like getting all up in O'Connell's face. He was mad. Like the dude was he was voicing it. Devontae Adams gonna let you know how he feels anyway. But when the crap happened with Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson just
what's he gonna do?
over to the sideline and drank some Gatorade and sat down and just pondered his life choices.
Right.
It's just like, this guy is so much better than this, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Get him a quarterback or get him out of New Jersey.
Send him somewhere.
Yeah, send him somewhere. Oh man. But yeah. So anything else you want for Mr. Wilson?
No, I think I've poured my heart out and said all I can say before I get emotional.
Yeah. All right. So if I had to ask you, who's a bigger wide receiver, AJ Brown or Puka Nacua? Top y'all said, what would you say?
Bigger?
Yeah,
like physically?
Physically, yeah. Grown ass man status.
I would definitely think AJ Brown, not knowing.
Yeah. Well, you'd be wrong. Puka Nacua.
Really?
Yeah. Puka Nacua, 6'2", 210 pounds. AJ Brown, 6'1", 210 pounds. He's got an inch on him. So he's not.
Is he really only 6'1" though?
Yeah, I know.
That dude looks like a freaking monster on the sideline.
Oh, well, he is a monster. Surprisingly, there's not that many. Well, I'm sure there is, but there's not that many guys over 6'1" at the wide receiver position. I was surprised.
That is interesting. Yes, I would not have guessed that.
I mean, so this is.
He's so little.
No, they're both
tiny.
grown.
He's so
they're
tiny.
both grown ass men. No, Puka Nacua though is. I mean, I didn't have that image of him either. He's just like a huge dude. But you watch him play last year. I mean, this guy
big.
He plays like Pacheco runs. Like, I mean, he's looking for contact. He's just. I mean, this guy's a beast. Rookie year, finished number 4 last year. This was the 4th overall wide receiver at the end of the year. I mean, no, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, no, that is right. Yeah, so he's being drafted number 7 or number 8 overall, and finished as the number 4 wide receiver last year. I mean, that's just broke every rookie record there is. And I know I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but I mean, 160 targets, 105 receptions, 1,500 yards, only 6 touchdowns. Like, you give this guy, I mean, he could have definitely positive regression in the touchdown department. I mean, there's a lot of questions though. Now he's got a knee issue going on, which is pretty scary for your first round pick. I mean, Cooper Cup's there with him, but he was there with him last year on a full healthy season. Big concern for me is Matthew Stafford's health, because we saw when Matthew Stafford missed, Cup and Puka took a big dip down in production, which is expected if your starting quarterback goes down. But I mean, McVay is a magician. There's not really much to argue there. So as long as everyone here is healthy, practicing, I mean, I think Puka Nakua, I mean, this guy, any positive regression, he could be number 1 wide receiver overall. It's hard to think that because he doesn't have the fancy draft capital like a Marvin Harrison or a Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase. But I mean, if you have the numbers to back it, you don't need the capital. Like, I mean,
Oh,
I
dude,
just,
1,500 yards as a
you know,
rookie. What draft capital do you
yeah.
need, son?
And I mean, and I say that because that's something like when I first came into drafting, I saw Puka Nakua was going at the end of the first round. I was like, golly, I really didn't want to pay that price for Puka, but I've come around on it. Now the knee FUD scares me a little bit, but I'm just going to monitor it. As soon as he's back on the practice field, nothing serious, I'm not going to worry about it. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I'd take him over Wilson. I mean, I think he's priced where he's at, going accordingly, because I do like taking A.J. Brown over him. But, I mean, that's only because we're all, I think, a little still surprised he did what he did last year. I mean, he could just be elite forever. I mean, I don't know how to word it necessarily, but this guy, I mean, he's going to smash if he's healthy. If Matthew Stafford's healthy, Sean McVay's coaching. I mean, you could pull him up there with Amon-Ra St. Brown if you wanted to. If you're just like, I'm doing it, and I wouldn't laugh at it at all. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking Puka Nakua where he's at, barring health.
No,
You good?
no.
Yeah.
Curse explains it. I'm like, yeah,
Well,
shit, I have nothing to contribute to that. No.
passionate about the Nakua.
No, and listen, dude, nothing you said is wrong. He did the damn thing. I do have deeper thoughts about the entirety of that offense, but I'm actually not even going to give those because I think the Rams are one of the teams that we were going to try to cover when we did, just our picky and choosy team breakdown of where fantasy value's at and where it might be hiding at. But people want to draft Puka at the end of the first round, draft Puka at the end of the first round. I mean, he did it.
Yeah.
I think 6 touchdowns is below his floor going forward.
Yeah.
I think we're probably
100%.
looking at 8+. I don't know that we're going to get 1,500 yards every single year.
Yeah, the 1,500 is stout, but I mean, shit, give me 1,300 yards and 10, 11 touchdowns. I'll take that.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you keep giving me 105 receptions and the yardage average is out, okay, cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm perfectly fine with him right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you could roll right into A.J. Brown if you want to, man.
Yeah. All right, A.J. Brown. Another just grown-ass man. We alluded to it. 6'1", 210 pounds, number 1 receiver for Philadelphia. And y'all know how I felt about Jalen Hurts. I think that's all directly correlated to Mr. A.J. Brown here. I mean, 158 targets, 106 receptions, 1,450 yards, 7 touchdowns. That 7 touchdowns, I think, goes into double digits this year. He had the most consistent, I think he had the most 100-plus yard games in a row last year than any receiver in the league. I mean, got Kellen Moore coming in, going to boost this offense. I mean, really the question is, do you want A.J. Brown or do you want to take Breece Hall or Bijan? I know Bijan and Breece are going before A.J. Brown, but I think you could pull him up. I think he's mispriced. The fact that he's going right next to Puka and not going next to Jefferson, Chase, and Amon-Ra is a mistake. So I think A.J. Brown, just a smash this year, could A.J. Brown could finish, number 1 receiver overall if things break for Philadelphia this year.
I don't see how they can't break.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
honestly.
Like he honestly feels just foolproof. I mean and the offense is so consolidated. It's just him and Devontae Smith. I know we got Saquon there this year, but the offense is going to run through these two guys, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and that is a train I don't think you want to miss. I think you want to walk away from most of your drafts with a, one of these two guys in AJ Brown or Devontae Smith. I mean, but AJ Brown, he's just that guy, man, on the field. He's a dog. He's got just he's got the X factor to him, man. Just the ability to break huge plays. Like he's a good route runner. He's huge. He can take a screen 80 yards, or he can just run a deep ball. Like he's just a stud.
He'll run your ass over too.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
he runs like a tight end, but with the speed of a receiver.
Yeah,
Dude's a freak.
absolutely. Yeah, he's a monster.
Oh, all right. Well, that was number 6. So it's time for round 2. Wide receiver trivia.
Okay.
Between Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, which wide receiver was overall least efficient in 2023? Not talking about just yards per catch, not talking about total scoring. I'm talking about averaging everything out.
I'm gonna say Devontae Adams because I know it wasn't good for Garrett Wilson, but he was honestly averaging like 10 to 15 points per game. It felt like I know Devontae Adams had like some 2-point games during the season, but I don't know. That's my guess. So I'm gonna go Garrett Wilson.
Oh, wait, what? You going Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson? You said them both.
Oh, or we're saying the least efficient of the
Mhm.
two? Oh, I'm going Devontae Adams. Sorry.
I'll go Garrett Wilson.
It was Garrett Wilson.
Ah, 0 for 2.
And that's the reason that I chose that to word it that way is because when we talked about Devontae Adams, we talked about how you'll do it, but you're not excited about it. And when we talked about Garrett Wilson, all we could talk about was the upside for a turnaround. And that's the reason I chose that. Garrett Wilson actually was less efficient than Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams felt ugly last year. But Garrett Wilson has a road to glory this year. I don't think
Yeah.
Devontae Adams does. Like, I don't know that I can't. I'm sure it's happened. I didn't dig that deep into it, but I'm trying to think off the top of my head of the last time that I saw a wide receiver do as bad as Garrett Wilson did last year, and then actually come and operate to the potential that I think he has for this year. And I just can't picture or remember one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
When I'm not talking about coming off an injury or anything like that, I'm talking about just having a shite season and then being a top 6, 7 guy. And I think that's what you're going to get. But oddly enough, yes, Garrett Wilson was even less efficient than Devontae Adams last year.
At least he has a quarterback this year. Or
That's true.
theoretically
Yeah.
speaking.
That's what I'm saying, man. It can only get better.
Absolutely.
All right. The top 5, we are, for you guys, we're just going to kind of roll that into a short discussion because my logic there is it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's Jamar Chase, it's Justin Jefferson, it's Tyreek Hill, and of course it's CeeDee Lamb. You're going to be drafting these guys in the first round if you're going to be drafting them, because if you don't, you're not going to be drafting them. And it's essentially just pick your poison, man. They all deserve to be in the first round. They're all core central pieces that you want to start building your team around. I think there's tweaks and advantages that certain ones may have over the other, but at the end of the day, if you walk out of the draft with any of these receivers, you're going to be happy. Unless somebody gets hurt. So I really didn't see the point in diagnosing all of them one by one. But I guess just to say we did, we'll start whoever wants to go first and just kind of rank those 5 the way that you would draft them, if it's any different than what the ADP is showing.
For me, I'm taking Jefferson 1 overall. Like if this is my only draft I get to do this year, like you get 1 draft, that's it. I'm taking Jefferson first. Like I think
Okay.
we're all. Yeah, I am. I mean, I think Lamb was awesome. I think he is awesome. And like, if I'm just being like analytical or whatever, trying to break things down, sure, the numbers point to Lamb, but Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league. I mean, I don't think anybody's arguing that. Sure, some people might, but he did it with Nick Mullins last year. Dropped a 30-point game with Nick Mullins. I mean, Sam Darnold, like that's what people are just scared of the quarterback situation. And we talked about fear-based drafting some last year. I'm not scared. Justin Jefferson ascends back quarterback play. And I think we're going to look back, and everyone who got Justin Jefferson 5, 6, 7, whatever, just going to be like all winning their leagues. To be honest, like if there's a sleeper in the first round, it's Justin Jefferson not getting picked 1 overall. Like, I mean, so that's my personal take on it. Out of those top 5 guys,
All right. What about you, Matt?
I'd probably. I know what Curtis just said, but the quarterback situation kind of scares me over there. So
yeah,
I'd actually move him further back. He probably is the better receiver out of all these 5. Personally, I'm probably going CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill if I had that option. If not, I'm going Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase has Joe Burrow.
yeah, I like that. I have
What can I
no
say?
beef. Yeah,
What can I say?
Yeah.
What was the receptions for St. Brown last year?
that would be
119.
119 on 164 targets.
164 targets, which is wildly efficient for
Yeah.
that many throws. Like,
Yeah,
it's like
I figured it was. I figured it was a little bit higher,
Mhm.
just because of that offense and with I don't forgot his name, quarterback
Jared Goff.
for the Lions.
Jared Goff, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know a lot of people were shitting on him. He's not that bad. He's solid.
No, you give
Well, he's
Jared
got a
Goff
lot
an
of dome
offensive
games
line.
this year too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Dome King.
yeah, he is.
So yeah, that's what I would do. Personally, if I have the option, I mean, I'm not drafting number 1 overall, so I'm not getting CeeDee Lamb at all here.
Yeah,
But I like Jamar Chase a lot.
yeah,
And then
yeah. Your heart of hearts, gun to your head, first pick, only draft. Who you taking? Number 1 overall pick.
Besides
Tyreek Hill.
CMC.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, me too. That's actually where I was gonna go with it, man. CeeDee Lamb
Well,
had just. Oh, go ahead.
I would say people shit on Tua too, but that offense is just really,
Yeah.
really good. I think. And Tyreek Hill, you just know what you're gonna get with him, and he's just gonna outrun everybody. He's legitimately like one of the fastest people in the NFL, if not the fastest. So
That's where I would go. If I had to rank these in order, I would go Tyreek first, just because as good as CeeDee Lamb was last year, and he had 181 targets and he finished with 400 fantasy points, Tyreek Hill finished with 377, and he had more yards on 18 less catches, 18 fewer catches. He finished with 1799. CeeDee Lamb finished with 1749, and as good as CeeDee Lamb is, I obviously think he's going to finish as a top 3-4 receiver this year. I don't think Dallas is going to have to. I think they will throw the ball as much, but we're going to be rolling into year 2 of the Dak CeeDee Lamb show. You know, there will be measures taken to slow it down some. Can you? That remains to be seen. But what I do know is you can't slow down Tyreek Hill, I guess is my point. Like, as long as he stays healthy and as long as Tua can stay on the field, even if Tua gets hurt, I don't think it hurts him that much. He seems to be quarterback proof from what we've seen. But gun to my head, I'm taking Tyreek. But CD would come in second, and then Chase, and then Jefferson, and then St. Brown.
to your point, Chris. The Curtis had mentioned earlier about George Pickens being you think he's a little bit more than a deep threat. Tyreek Hill is a deep threat, but he's also that guy that can catch that ball at 2 yards and then take it 80 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And the home run ability with Tyreek Hill, to me, is just over all these receivers.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. And all the targets are consolidated between him and Jalen Waddle. That's another reason. I mean, that's why Lamb is 1, 2. Like, no one else is getting the ball other than Lamb in that offense. Like, it's going to run.
Right.
It's going to go through the pass. Like, I don't think Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott are going to carry this team. It's going to be Dak and CeeDee Lamb. So that's why, smart drafting, I think CeeDee Lamb is the easy number 1 choice. But in my heart of hearts, it's Jefferson for me out of these guys.
All right. Last round.
All right.
Of these top 5 receivers, which of these wide receivers averaged the most yards per game on a games played basis?
More
Tyreek
yards per
Hill,
game.
huh? I'm gonna go
Yes,
with,
on a games played basis, who averaged the highest yardage per game?
yeah, I'll go Tyreek Hill.
I will. I'm gonna throw a Hail Mary up here and just say Justin Jefferson.
Dude, Justin Jefferson.
Hey, how did I not go with him? Absolutely. Yeah. He's a beast.
So the game he got hurt in, I think it was the middle of the second quarter, maybe early second quarter. So he didn't even finish that game. He technically logged 10,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it was really like 9 and less than a half. And if it counted for 10 games, he would have paced himself to finish the season with 1,830 yards.
Yeah. I Go ahead, Chris.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I really needed to say about it.
I'm glad you
And
mentioned
that's
that
with shitty quarterbacks.
because I did want to go back just to remind everyone who Justin Jefferson is. Just last year, 184 targets, 128 receptions, 1,800 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. There's room to improve that stat line to double-digit touchdowns. So, I mean, Justin, like I'm telling you, man, everyone's going to regret not taking Justin Jefferson 1 overall. I don't care who's a quarterback.
Unless it's Christian McCaffrey. You still got to take Christian McCaffrey first.
That'll be a conversation for another day. Actually, I will go ahead and say I think you can take all 5 of these top 5 over Christian McCaffrey in your drafts. That's me. I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey one overall
Dude,
over any of these guys.
don't get us canceled before we take off, man. With that heresy.
Oh,
Come on.
man.
But it's whatever, man. It's
Wait,
a wide
you're
receiver
not-
league now, so I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
If I have the opportunity to draft McCaffrey, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go, guys.
I will ride that train. The dude got me into the playoffs in multiple leagues last year.
Didn't get you to the Super Bowl, did he?
Granted, he failed me in the final game. The one that mattered.
Yep.
But I'll ride that train until it's broken.
Of course, yeah. I'm not calling anybody. McCaffrey's a stud for sure. You should draft him 1 overall, but I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it. Oh man.
All right, I'm looking to see where we're at here. All right, yeah, let's just pick one because we kind of need to start summing it up. Let's go around the horn, pick one receiver that we didn't talk about, and just very briefly tell everybody why they should take him. If you need any of his stats or anything, just let me know. I got you covered.
I'll kick us off here, which is really tough if we're just doing it one. If we're just going to do it, Deebo Samuel has to be talked about. I mean, I believe he's ranked number 16 consensus-wise, so he's just outside the top 15. But, I mean, I think Deebo Samuel should be in the top 10. He finished number 15 last year. But, I mean, especially if IU gets traded, it's just to the moon with this guy.
Yep,
I mean, and also, this guy is another 6'1", 215 pounds. He's a grown-ass man. 7 receiving touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. He's so essential to this 49ers offense. I mean, I know Christian McCaffrey is the most, but honestly, I think Brandon Ayuk is the most important piece to the 49ers offense. I think he makes everything gel. He's just to be outside the top 15, even if he is consensus number 16, I think is laughable. But just real quick, I've got to mention DJ Moore. He finished number 6 overall last year, guys. I mean, and he's got an improvement at quarterback. I know he's got some competition in there now, but I don't care. DJ Moore's a stud. Draft DJ Moore. His value is incredible. But yeah, he's my little cameo. But yeah, Deebo Samuel has to be in the top 15.
Yeah, I was going to mention DJ Moore as well.
Yeah, sorry, I may have stole that from you. But
I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll kind of piggyback off of that and just throw out some stats. I mean, with Justin Fields at quarterback last year, DJ Moore had 136 targets and 96 receptions for 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. I mean, the question is Caleb Williams that much better of an upgrade at QB? I don't know if I'm going to get hate for that. I think he's a little overrated, but he probably is better than Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So I think you can expect those numbers.
As a pure quarterback, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, everybody's saying he's like the second coming of Patrick Mahomes over here. I'm gonna wait to see the proof in the pudding on that one.
So not get ahead of ourselves,
he is
guys.
an upgrade.
You're right.
So yeah, if DJ Moore's there, I'm probably taking him.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. DJ Moore should be in this top 15 discussion 100%. Like, the disrespect on DJ Moore. Finished number 6, dude. I mean,
So,
dude.
Just real quick then, asking for a friend, would you keep DJ Moore for an 8th round pick or Jahmyr Gibbs for a 4th round pick?
Well, Jahmyr Gibbs has a hamstring injury now, and they were very vague about it too, so it makes me nervous. I don't know, man. DJ Moore for an 8th round pick, give me. That's tough.
I'm not giving up. Other choice is Devon Achane, and I ain't doing that.
Yeah, no.
I'm keeping Achane.
Yeah, Achane's the truth.
We'll circle back to that, but that's for off the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be a little behind the curtains right there.
All right. Well, I'll close this out. I know the idea was to pick a sleeper, and this dude's probably not a sleeper because his collateral is pretty high, but I want to make sure everybody that may or may not be is aware of the damage that Malik Neighbors is about to do to this league. He got drafted to what would normally be a terrible spot. And when I say that, I mean they got nothing. They got Daniel Jones. They no longer have Darren Waller. And they have a bad O-line. It may be better this year. I don't know. I'm just going off last year. But they do have a defense. But Malik Neighbors is going to be this offense. Nope. Trust me, dude. Trust me. Malik Neighbors is going to be not the focal point. This offense is going to run through Malik Neighbors. And he's that guy. If I'm looking at building a team and I want to start from the outside on the perimeter, the Cardinals did the right thing. They took Harrison. I think Harrison's a much better fit there than Malik Neighbors would have been. But if I'm looking for somebody that I want to be able to put anywhere on the field, I want to be able to draw plays around his abilities, his speed, his vision, Malik Neighbors is that dude. I've been saying this since before the draft. I think the direct quote that I told Curtis was, I don't know where he's going to go, but wherever he goes, he's going to do great because the dude, when you watch him play, he's just got that dog in him, man. Like, he gets heated. He wants the ball. He does good things when he gets the ball. I mean, his break and run it's one of the better LSU receivers I've seen come through in the last 12 years. And I know Georgia over there is going to have something to say about it, but if we can do anything at LSU, we can pump out receivers.
That's the truth.
I'm not saying shit about y'all's receivers, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, like I'm not saying he's got Jefferson hands, but he runs like Jefferson runs when Jefferson gets the ball. Honestly, the best comp that I can think of is going to be what happened with Odell Beckham when Odell Beckham got drafted to the Giants. Oddly enough, I think they're very similar players, at least earlier in Odell's career when he was a lot shiftier and before he hurt himself a lot. But I'll tell you, dude, I don't care if the Giants average 11.5 points a game. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a target monster, and his catch after run, I think we're going to look back at the end of the year and just say, I'm not going to say anybody's going to be like, oh my God, why didn't I draft this dude? Because people are. I mean, he's going in 3rd, 4th round. Fourth round, if you're lucky. And you're taking a flyer. Right.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that at the end of the year, if he stays healthy, regardless of how the Giants do, the 4th round is a discount. That's my opinion.
Yeah, not just a discount, man. I mean, if his price stays there, Malik Neighbors could be the best pick in fantasy football this year.
He could.
I mean, y'all heard me say I'd rather have Malik Neighbors and Christopher Olave on my team. I mean, the guy is. I think he's going to
Me
transcend.
too.
Yeah, I
I
think he's going
second
to
that.
transcend even a bad offense in New York. Like, I mean, I think he's going to make Daniel Jones draftable, or maybe not draftable, but streamable this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's above bag quarterback play. And Ryan Dayball's a good head coach. He's going to get Malik Neighbors the ball. So,
For sure.
yeah, I agree with everything Chris said. And just, again, the difference between drafting Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors is just vastly different. I mean, it's in real life NFL, not fantasy. Real life NFL scouts, some had Malik Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, I know that's a polar topic, but talent wise, I think he's
Right.
right there with them, man. Like he's not just a second option. This is a transcending talent. Like he will make things happen for the Giants we haven't seen since Odell Beckham.
I agree. And I agree with what you said about how they're probably equally talented. It's just they're different receivers. So I think the Giants would have much rather had Neighbors than Harrison because they don't want a sideline stretcher because Daniel Jones can't get the damn ball to a sideline stretcher. You
You know,
know?
offensive line can't keep him up long enough to get it to him that deep.
Well,
Yeah,
fair enough. However, whatever the reason is, that
yeah,
wouldn't have worked for
yeah.
them. Malik Neighbors is going to get the ball a lot behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to get the ball a lot straight over the middle on those illegal pick plays that happen every set of downs. He's going to get the ball in space, and I don't think if you're listening to this and you're just wondering, just go look up highlights from last year at LSU. I understand that the defenses are it's going to be pro players now, but just get a feel for how fast this dude can run
Mm-hmm.
because his 40 time does not reflect his game speed. I promise you, he's got turbojets. It's it's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm so pumped to see him play.
yeah. They have to get Pat 40 time in the combine. I don't know why we're not having these players running at the combine. What are we doing here? But yeah. Echo everything Chris says. Malik Neighbors is just a smash.
Well,
But well, guys, if y'all don't have anything, I'm all done in my notes here.
okay. Well, yeah, I guess that'll wrap us up. Um, Another quick shout out to Primo and the 2 Game Podcast, man. Thanks again for helping us out with this. Thanks again for recording with us. And everybody check that out. I know I said it last week, but you really don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, gotta
Log
get
on
some
there,
house.
listen to some stuff, and just find us out, man. Find him out. That's going to be patreon.com/2game, the number 2. And we will try to be back, I'm going to say next week, but as soon as we can with a shorter running back segment and some tight end stuff. So
Awesome.
if y'all don't have anything else, we'll lock it there, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right, guys. Peace.